He didn't want to take the chance that he would not re-sign with the Yankees, and he enjoys New York. He's been a Yankee fan his whole life.
That's the leverage. The leverage is the Yankees ultimately said, we're willing to risk this because we're not getting this done, that you go to free agency. And Cole said, I'm not. I want to stay with the team under these terms. Ken, great to see you, and let's get right to business. So we want to start with Gerrit Cole and the opt-out but not really situation. What do you know? What did you learn?
Well, I know what everybody else knows is they opted out, and then basically the Yankees said, we're not doing the 36, so we'll do it a little bit differently. And what they agreed to do was essentially extend their window here. Do I think at some point the Yankees will give him an extension? Yes. Do I think it will be 36 million? No. And the reason that the Yankees could do this is because Cole did not want to leave. He made that pretty clear to them. So basically what we have here is a situation where at some point the Yankees will go to the extra year, in my opinion, to lower the AAV of the deal. So they'll make a new deal. It will be something like, I don't know, just make up a number. Right now it's 4,144. So let's go to 5,160. That would lower their AAV and lower the luxury tax hit for the duration of the contract. That to me is the logical outcome here. Now, Scott Boras and Gerrit Cole might say, well, 16 million guaranteed on top of this is not enough. We had 36, whatever. They'll reach a number, and at some point, there will be some kind of appeasement of the Boras Cole camp, and everyone will be happy.
If you read online, Ken, this is like everybody. I mean, this is not like there's not one person that's saying Gerrit Cole and Scott Boras have won this fight. I mean, it's universally
right.
The Yankees basically told him to go kick rocks, and he came back. And is that really the case here? I mean, are there other factors in play besides just the Yankees saying, hey, we don't want to do the 36, and if you can find better, go ahead. And Garrett's like, no, I just want to be a Yankee. Thank you.
I do think, AJ, essentially that is what happened. At the same time, the kick rocks scenario, I don't know that the Yankees can necessarily afford to do that. They want another one of Scott Boras' clients. His name is Juan Soto. And they're not going to offend Boras, offend Cole to the point where you're saying kick rocks. But they obviously made it clear as well that they weren't willing to do 36 million at age 38 for him. That's not an unreasonable position. And if you're Cole, by the end of this contract, as it presently stands, guys, you're going to make almost $350 million. So if you want to take a lesser salary in that fifth year that ultimately I believe they will get, you take a lesser salary to stay with the Yankees. And yeah, he could have gone into free agency, but ended up with a team that he didn't want to be with. This way, at least he gets to be where he wants to be.
Is there a set deadline for this that you've heard?
No, there's no deadline. And frankly, this can go on until spring training and go on forever. And frankly, also, there's no obligation for the Yankees to do anything. But I do think that they will. There's two motivations here, as I mentioned. One motivation is to keep everyone happy, Boras, Cole, etc. And the other motivation is if you can get him at a lower salary than 36, which would be the idea, obviously, then you do get a lesser luxury tax number attached to Cole. And that's a good thing. Even if it's only a couple of $1 million, when you're looking at the fourth and highest luxury tax tier, you want every dollar you can save. And that, I think, will be their motivation here.
Why can they wait for so long? Is the opt-out completely off the table now? Like he didn't opt out,
yes,
but they're going to continue to talk about things?
That's exactly right, Eric. He didn't opt out. The Yankees didn't exercise the 36, but he agreed to stay on his present 4-year, $144 million guarantee. That's where this is. So there's no deadline. There's no date this must be done by. In my view, it would behoove them to do it before Soto if they can get it done, because then you, again, lower the luxury tax hit and maybe you create a little bit more room. It's not going to be the determining factor for Soto one way or the other, of course. But couldn't hurt also. When you're looking at other things too, Juan Soto will not be their only offseason move. So they will want as much flexibility with the luxury tax that they can get, and maybe if they can work something out here, they get a little bit of relief.
Ken, I know that Brian Cashman spoke yesterday about this. should he have phrased it differently and said, hey, there's nothing to read into here yet. We're still talking. We extend it. Because everyone publicly is looking and saying, okay, this was extended 24 hours. Nothing happened. And you just take a snippet from his conversation. And he's like, there's no extension talks right now. So I'm wondering if the Yankees made a little bit of a leverage position publicly, because they could have just came out and said, hey, still working on it. We're just going to extend it for a while. Nothing to see here. We'll get back to you.
That's kind of what they did say, Scott. They didn't really say this is over. They said we're going to take more time to talk. And keep in mind, too, guys, this is important, I think, to remember. The World Series ended, last Wednesday. This deadline was on them really quickly. And I don't know that they had that much incentive, or at least motivation, right after the World Series ended, when everyone, with the Yankees at least, was so disappointed to, yes, immediately dive into Gerrit Cole contract talks. So that probably played a role in this too. That's why they had to extend it to 24 hours. I just think this is an open-ended thing. Now, is it possible that Cole never gets an extension? Of course, it's possible. But I just think it's in the Yankees' interest, for the reasons I've stated, to do that at some point.
I love a great deal, but I'm not going to run sprints in the outfield just to save a few bucks. It has to be easy. No hoops, no BS. With Mint Mobile, it really is that easy to get wireless for $15 a month with the purchase of a 3-month plan. Purchase and activation is super easy too.
To get started, go to mintmobile.com/territory. All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. You can use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and bring your phone number.
To get this new customer offer and your new 3-month premium wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/territory. That's mintmobile.com/territory. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/territory.
$45 upfront payment required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customers on their first 3-month plan only. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details.
So we'll use a Jim Bowden tweet. He said Cashman clarified that Gerrit Cole ultimately decided to stay under the same exact terms and conditions of his existing contract. So the opt-out really wasn't an opt-out when he found out he couldn't improve the deal and stay with New York. Ken did say, I would say somewhat strongly in Ken terms, that he thinks there could be something else figured out between now and before Juan Soto signs. And I think this part is important to keep in mind. The Yankees are spending a lot of money on Gerrit Cole. If they like his medicals and they want him even longer than the 4 years, then they could try and extend him even 2 more years at a much lower rate and say, hey, dude, this is going to be when you're in your late 30s. Let's try and do half that amount of money, or a lot of deferrals attached to it, and it would lower the average annual value, because they are a team that is concerned about that. Every team is worried about the luxury tax, aside from probably the Mets.
Dodgers.
And the Dodgers, that's fair. But the
Listen,
Yankees do concern themselves on it. They have done it in the past, where they're like, oh, we're worried about the luxury
We're
tax.
going to reset. They reset a couple years ago, remember?
They did. Yep.
But my thing is, there's so much more, like kind of what Ken said, that goes into these. There's a physical that he has to get, and it's so quick of a turnaround after it. There's an insurance thing, which is kind of one of the more interesting things if you start digging into baseball insurance and how it affects contracts and things like this, because some teams will self-insure, some teams don't, look at it, there are different doctors and the team doctors that have to look at insurance things. So there's different things that go down. I just don't know that there was, one, enough time, and two, the bottom line is both of them wanted to stay together. Gerrit wanted to stay in New York. The Yankees wanted Gerrit in New York. That's the thing we need to take out of this. And plus, listen, the Yankees are about to go in on Juan Soto. Do they want to go to Juan Soto and say, oh, yeah, we just lost a Boris client who's also your agent and the ace of our staff, so you're going to come here and we don't know who the ace is? Like, that's also appealing to Juan Soto and Scott Boras, who also represents Juan Soto.
Right, but then it just depends how ballsy you are. Like, I know there's a lot going on behind the scenes, but if I was him, and it's hard to put yourself in those shoes, I would have thought maybe, you know what? You don't feel like I'm worth all of this, and I've really been a bargain on his contract. I think he has. He's been worth all of that, besides this year when he missed time. But even then, he comes back in the playoffs, and he was definitely a factor, especially in the last game. I'd be like, cool, you don't think I'm pretty enough? I'll go see if I can dance with everybody else. You don't think Steve Cohen would sign up Gerrit Cole for more than $144 million if he's healthy? I do.
I don't think he's not healthy. Maybe his hamstring was sore from not covering first, but other than that, I mean, I don't know. Everything I've heard, indications people I've talked to say he's healthy, and it wasn't that.
So then I would have said, I feel like I have more leverage if I'm Cole because of what you just said. They're gonna call Juan Soto and say, "Hey, we just told Cole he wasn't worth 144, and we want you." Because now the leverage is gone because they can have conversations, right? I can be Cole and you can be the Yanks or vice versa, and we can try and get something done. But ultimately, at the end of the day, you could say, "Listen, we're not coming to an agreement, so we'll just keep what we have because you are locked
Which
into
is
a
fine.
deal."
Sometimes players want to stay in places, and 3 for 1 or 4 for 144 sounds pretty good to me.
Yeah, no one's going to feel bad for him, Kratz. But I'm just saying, if you really wanted to push it on the money, you could have. I also could see him just saying, hey, I'm loyal. I don't want to move my family out of Connecticut and to a different organization. And it's not worth the risk of trying to add one more year if we maybe can get something done in the future, but maybe not.
My thing is, like, he chose, like, did it get to the point where he chose to take his opt-out?
He said he did.
So then, did he then say, like, how does that conversation go? Like, we want to extend it. We want to, like, how do you, like, if, for instance, Jacob deGrom. Jacob deGrom got, was he a year older or 2 years older than Cole when he got his 5 years, 185? 1 year older. So why if Gerrit didn't think, why? I don't know. I'm ultimately confused by it.
There's nothing contractually that says they have to do anything anymore.
No, nothing.
So I have the same right as any other player.
Is that he just plays his 4-year 144 and he gets to it, and if he's still pitching well, the Yankees might come to him after year 3 and say, hey, we want to add a year or two. But if you're the Yankees, you have all the leverage. Now you definitely have all the leverage because there ain't no more opting out. So he's locked in for 144. That's where he wanted to be. So if you're the Yankees, it's a waiting game now.
Yeah.
We'll just wait and see now.
Like, okay, I call back the Yankees and I say, okay, let's try and add another year and let's do 30. And they go, no, we'll do 10. And they're like, no. I'm like, okay, guess we'll talk another time.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
There's nothing contractually obligated at that point. The only leverage you had is if you did become a free agent. So you could have challenged the Yankees and said, oh, really? You want to keep this going?
Do you think if he was a free agent right now, he'd get more?
Without having a look at medicals, because I can't do that. I don't have the access. If he's good,
yes.
If he's cleared by a team, he gets more. Yes.
Yes. Why not?
Okay.
So that's what I'm confused by that whole question. That's why that's what confuses me about the whole situation. But also, it's a unique clause in his contract. It's like a player option with a team backup kind of thing. Like, and no, it's not a mutual option because those never get picked up. But
no,
not never. It got picked up once or twice. But it's a unique thing that how it actually works. We need somebody to explain that to me.
No, I can explain it. I've read every article on the internet from legitimate people that have put something out over the last few days. Any questions that you have, pretty much, aside from anything that goes on like truly behind the scenes or anything related exactly to medical information, no one's going to have. No other teams are going to have. No writers are going to have. Those are HIPAA laws, right? But anything that's out there is out there, so we can explain it. I can explain one other lever of leverage. Let's say Cole says, I'm going to go to free agency, and we can keep talks going, but it at least gives me leverage that if talks don't go well, I can sign elsewhere. Okay. The Yankees might be thinking, sure. Every other team's going to think, why did you let him get to free agency? Is there something that we don't know? Perception.
Okay. Perception, but then, like, how does it get to that point? To me, the way I see an opt-out, if I ever had a minor league opt-out, they had 72 hours to either put me on the roster or I become a free agent. Like, I assume that's what's happening with this, or what was supposed to happen with this. What held up the I'm taking my opt-out, psych, I'm not.
I'll tell you what, he didn't want to leave.
Yeah.
He just didn't want to leave. He didn't want to take the chance that he wouldn't be a New York Yankee. That's what it comes across as to me. He didn't want to take the chance that he would not re-sign with the Yankees, and he enjoys New York. He's been a Yankee fan his whole life, and he decided to stay there. I mean,
that's the leverage. The leverage is the Yankees ultimately said, we're willing to risk this because we're not getting this done, that you go to free agency. And Cole said, I'm not. I want to stay with the team under these terms.
Yeah.
That's what happened, period. Right?
Yeah. And they might get another year added on. Again, there's allegedly still negotiating window, but I thought, I mean, they could have done a deal 2 months ago to just say, hey, we're picking that option up already.
We've known this is coming
so
for a long time.
Why it was also the Yankees a little bit playing chicken, saying, hey, we're not going to give this to you. What are you going to do? And he said, I'm coming back for the same deal. And hopefully in good faith, you'll try and negotiate a 5th year. But there's no pressure on the Yankees. They got 4 years to do nothing.
Yeah.
They can literally sit there and do nothing.
But the risk for him was, I take this to free agency. And I personally believe he would have gotten a better deal. But he didn't want to leave the team. And if you do take this to free agency, and I'm just using the Mets as the easy example because I think they'll have some fun going after Juan Soto too. If the Mets said, hey, Gerrit, I'm going to give you 24 hours. Here's a deal. It's 5 years, 175. We think you're worth more than what the Yankees think you're worth right now. But we want you to want to be here. You can still commute from Connecticut. You got your whole setup here. To me, there was a part of him that wanted to stay with the Yankees organization. Because if you're going to call a place out, your leverage is you have to be willing to leave. Otherwise, they don't think you're going to leave.
Remember, I said that this was a possibility that he would opt out. And you guys were like, yeah, I'll never opt out. The Yankees would just pick up the $36
I did think they were going to, and there were
apparently
people
they
saying
say
that
no.
they would. No, they didn't. So there's the story. I just wanted to make sure that was clear because I think it's fascinating. It ended up becoming much more of a story than I thought it would be.
Well, it became more of a story because of the way it was handled. If Cole just doesn't opt out and he just takes his 144, then people are like, okay, he wanted to be there.
Mm-hmm.
But because it was reported he opted out, and then it was reported that they went for 24 more hours and they didn't pick up his option, and then he's just like, no, I'm just going to stay on my original deal. That's why it became more. And then Brian Cashman, was like, oh, we're not negotiating with him anymore. It's all about the perception in the media,
Mm-hmm.
right? So if he just says, no, I'm not opting out, everyone would have been like, okay, he wants to be a Yankee. But as soon as that got out, then it changed everything.
It did. So I think it's fascinating, but I don't think it's necessarily to be continued. All right, let's just finish it this way. Do you think Gerrit Cole gets a reworked deal with the Yankees before Juan Soto signs a contract anywhere? I'm saying no.
No.
Eric?
I want to say yes, but I don't. I don't think so.
Cool.
Because then you're opening up a can of worms, like an NFL can of worms. Like everybody on a contract is just going to, get their contract reworked if they want to.
Right. Isn't this then going to the Bryce Harper conversation? He's in a contract for a long time.
Thing.
Bryce didn't want an opt-out. And then you kind of feel like you're a bargain, but you didn't want an opt-out. So that's on him.
He didn't want an opt-out, and now he wants more money.
Right.
The Phillies are like, no.
Yeah, and that's their right. They should be able to say that. Contracts are two ways.
Plus, the Yankees have a lot of holes to fill. So they're like, we got Gerrit Cole for 4 more years. We know we got him for 4 years.
Exactly.
I mean, they got a lot of other holes to fill.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, everybody. Be sure to like and subscribe for more content.
We're back here every weekday, all year long, so do not miss an episode.
The videos are coming in all day. Here's another video you might enjoy.
Baseball the way it should be covered.